the virtue in ancient times of trust and belief is aligned with that. So our foundation as human beings is earth, our ability to trust and believe in something. And we have a crisis of trust in the modern world, as we see. And as a result of it, you just put something out and people by the millions start believing that. And so it's very important that there is this cultivation of the earth element, and we cannot be practitioners that are effective if we do not believe in the nature's ability to heal itself. And therefore then not believe in the healing powers of our medicine, particularly when the rubber hits the road and we're encountering something serious. Because of my contacts in China, I was very early on in touch with people there. I posted a lot of that material at that website that Lauren mentioned earlier, and we translated lots of materials there on the COVID page. But it was sort of, and started as early as March lecturing about that in the Western world. But, it's now half a year later, and I've become a little bit disillusioned at the timidness of of the professions of natural medicine itself, to, instead of using the pandemic as an opportunity to, at a time when Western medicine really needs all hands on deck because so many things are not working, and people are being hospitalized and even dying, particularly at the very beginning, that there is a complete blackout about, for instance, that the Chinese government mass mandated the application of Chinese medicine for once, and that is one of the reasons why the pandemic there is now pretty much over, and everybody's operating normally and is out and about. While I'm not a friend of informational flow from the Chinese government and think that was probably highly problematic at the beginning, it can be said for sure that with the application of Chinese medicine, whatever other measures they were using, they were quite successful. So this is my role today, as I perceive it, is sort of strengthen our foundations once again, because I know that's always important for myself, in the trust in our own medicine and what it can do specifically for viruses, and specifically for this particular virus that we've been hearing so much about. And I will start for the first half of it. This was sort of a good exercise, and I thank Lauren for encouraging me to take on this topic, because it's like everyone else, it's if you don't have a deadline, you're not being forced to do it, then you don't prepare it. So I spent most of the summer just reading through literally hundreds of texts that are especially dedicated to treating epidemic disease, including, and most of them are viral epidemic diseases in Chinese history. So this, despite what we hear, there is many, humankind has undergone lots and lots of epidemics. The earliest one reported was the bubonic plague epidemic in Athens in 430 BC. That's been in enormous detail reported by Thucydides in his massive description in the Peloponnese War. And it's of course translated into English, and there's a whole chapter in that with minute details and panic in the population and what people did. Very interesting. And but I want to more specifically kind of go through history of how with every epidemic in China, a new theory emerged, and they are all at our disposal and nowadays. Okay, I have sometimes a little bit of a delay here in getting the next slide, but so let's start with the etymology of the term for medicine in China, really, which is this character Yi. And my colleague Liu Hong in China pointed out that the character for epidemic, right, this character here means epidemic. That is part of the character for medicine up here. So from the very beginning, the history of medicine and the history of epidemics are intricately interwoven. And furthermore, how is the term epidemic defined in the Chinese dictionary? We have in the Han Dynasty, Shouwen Jiezi, it says, Yi Min Jie Ji. The word epidemic describes a situation when the entire populace falls ill. So it's not just some people, but most people will get sick, and that is different. And we have, and this character is intricately intertwined with the character for military expeditions, which you find here on the right. So in a certain way, you could say this is a disease that breaks out in the aftermath of a war or within especially military encampments because people are crowded on top of each other. And here's a famous prose poem by Cao Cao, the notorious general at the end of the Han, Hao Li Xing, passing the dead. The armor of marauding soldiers remains in place, meaning they are plundering and don't even have time to take their weapons off and their clothes, unwashed and growing nits, while people lie dead by the tens of thousands. Skeletons litter the landscape, and no cock crows for 1,000 miles. Only 1 in 100 still lives. Just thinking of this scene breaks my heart. So it gives us an idea, sort of at the beginning of Chinese medicine, at the end of the Han Dynasty, Shanghan Lun time, we have like that kind of a scene here, motivating especially Zhang Zhongjing, as we will see, writing the Shanghan Lun. So from the very beginning, these what we call the classics of Chinese medicine, from the Yellow Emperor's classic of medicine, the Neijing, to the Nanjing, to the Shanghan Lun, to Ge Hong's work, the founder of Taoism as a religion, but also a Taoist hermit and Chinese herbalist. They all focus on epidemics. So we'll talk about the coverage of epidemics in the classics, and then later on, starting with the Sun Dynasty, there is a picking up of the pace in the Chinese literature, and we have lots and lots of work that are specifically on epidemics. We're not going to go through these, but the ones that are featured in bold here, we are going to discuss in greater detail. This is just supposed to show you that there is many, many works, particularly during the Qing Dynasty, because one epidemic in one part of China led to another. So starting with the Yellow Emperor, who is of course a legendary figure, supposed to have lived in thousands, like 3000 BC or so. And of course the Neijing was written more like around 2000 years ago, or edited into what we know now. But the authors at that time attributed that to the legendary Yellow Emperor. And we have the most important quote right here, which we should never, we start with the most important thing, and it's nothing that you don't know, but I myself need to constantly remind myself about this foundational statement of Chinese medicine, that different from Western medicine, Western science, where we're interested in basically blaming nature for what is happening, and we want to kill off bacteria and viruses and things that are, from our perspective, not working well. truly holistic medicine, Chinese medicine included, is focusing on the inside and almost exclusively on that. Like and so this sentence here in chapter 72 of the Suwen part of the Neijing says, 正气存内，邪不可干，避其毒气. So when righteous qi is strong on the inside, then pathogenic influences cannot invade from the outside. Putting that together with this other statement that during epidemic disease, everybody gets sick, that is what we see in COVID right now, that lots of people test positive, have no symptoms. And some people have mild symptoms, some people have severe symptoms, and some people have life-threatening symptoms. So that is, from a Chinese perspective, all due to how much zhengqi, how much righteous qi do we have on the inside. And that means we can, of course, while we waiting, instead of just warding off outside threats, whether it's with masks or quarantining or by having some magical drug, whether it's hydroxychloroquine or something else at the ready, or take that preventatively. It's the main focus in Chinese medicine. Every day we can do something through breathing, through eating, through qigong, through herbs, through acupuncture, moxibustion, etc. Second sentence, like as the Sufis say, trust in God, but tie your camel. So while we are working on this internal qi, the Neijing itself says, but do your best to evade toxic qi at the same time. That's where all of the, don't attend gatherings of 50 people at this time, etc. But the most important thing is on this zhengqi. Furthermore, chapter 4, which is called the Jingle Zhenyan Lun, the treatise on the ultimate truth that is locked away in the golden cabinet. So it's sort of like the tabernacle. All of the treasures are in here. It says, 夫精者, 神之本也. The Jing, our essence qi, that is the root of health and the physical body. 故曾于精者，春不病温. If therefore the people who are good and are cultivating their Jing and storing their Jing is really just yang qi in a state of storage in the wintertime. 春不病温 means in the springtime, there won't be epidemic disease for that person. Okay? So here, furthermore, this zhengqi, which could easily be interpreted as a postnatal qi, is furthermore specified as jing, which is stored in the kidney and is governed by, as we will see, by the triple warmer and the gallbladder, the two organ systems which are most responsible for, due to their relative malfunctioning this year, for the outbreak of the epidemic in this particular year. Furthermore, chapter 15, 玉版论要, it says, the essential discussions that are printed onto jade plates, literally is the title of this. It says, 病温许慎死. If somebody contracts an epidemic disease, the reason for which we've already explained earlier, and that person is severely deficient, he or she will die. So here, while Western medicine says we don't know why there is an issue with some people, not with others, the Neijing clearly states what the problem is. Furthermore, the Neijing has, while we probably know all of this so far, there is an interesting, as my colleague Liu Hong once again has pointed out, there is another statement in the Neijing that says, 两虚相得乃克其形. When two types of deficiency encounter each other, they will particularly pathologically affect the body. And his interpretation, which I think is extremely reasonable here is that what are the two types of deficiency that are not further explained in the Neijing after this sentence is one of them is our own, the ones we've been talking about in our microcosm of the human body. The other one is the deficiency out there of the macrocosm in nature, because nature is a living and breathing organism that also has imbalances, and those imbalances are being described in the science of the 60-year cycles that's called wuyun liuqi, the movement of the 5 planets and the 6 weather patterns that come with it. The Neijing furthermore explores, what makes a disease worse once a viral disease or an epidemic disease, mostly called a febrile disease here. There is a chapter 31 here, and a discussion on fever diseases, where the Yellow Emperor says, please explain to me, this is a question for his advisor, Qibo, presumably, yes it is. Once the fever is gone, but sometimes then you have cyclical reoccurrence of that, why is that? And then basically, Qibo says, people have been starving and they think, well, it's natural for the body to not want to eat afterwards. You force food in, that is a problem, particularly if you're eating meat, then there is a chance that there'll be something coming back. So the Neijing, quite detailed, not just in theory, but also in dietetics, gives some rudimentary advice. I would say from a modern perspective, avoiding sugar and alcohol are probably just as important.